It's always a good thing to step back and reflect on a year that has gone, and I hope you enjoyed joining me for this. So, last May, it was super to see so many village, school and church folk all celebrating together at the coronation tea party. The Reverend Martin Davey and I led Ascension Day evening praise, and it was the first that began a lovely monthly partnership with Holy Trinity Theal. And we've continued this time of contemporary worship, Bible teaching and prayer on every last Sunday of the month. In this month, I officiated at the baptism of twins Sam and Tom Pentecost and officiated at the cremation of Madeline Palmer. June always sees Englefield Estate hosting 2 whole days of over 30 visiting schools, and that means around 1,500 pupils. St Mark's hosted almost 500 children for a session about baptism and weddings across the 2 days. Richard Smith answered some very tricky questions about church history, and Dinah and Margaret served them very much appreciated juice and biscuits. I also attended Space Makers, a training at Dowie Abbey. Space Makers is a set of contemplative practices based on ancient Christian traditions, put together by Oxford Diocese Board of Education. The practices are stilling, noticing, dwelling, mending, and blessing. I would really encourage you to visit Dowie Abbey if you haven't already and see the stunning views inside. Paul and I also had an invitation to the Parliamentary Prayer Breakfast and a Westminster Abbey Evensong. We also enjoyed a tour of the Palace of Westminster with grateful thanks to Lord Benyon, patron of St Mark's, also known as Richard. In this month, I led a heart-rending Thanksgiving service before interring the ashes of Jo Werner, daughter of Pauline and Graham Harvey. And I also officiated at the funeral of Howard Hipwood, polo champion and village resident. July was a delight as we attended the Englefield show. The cakes supplied by St Mark's were very much enjoyed by the Rector. I joined our school days at St James Pangbourne and baptised Bella the doll a few more times. Our school held its annual RE week, and I was able to lead a rather different school activity to usual when I taught the pupils some dance of other cultures and religions, Bharatnatyam and Bhangra, the latter being rather more exhausting than the former. I was very glad to sit on the school bus trip the next day as we travelled to Windsor Castle. It was extremely poignant in St George's Chapel to see Her late Majesty's resting place. It was super to host the school staff barbecue at St Mark's House, and Chef Paul's spirits were not dampened by the drizzle. I always find the annual school leavers service in church a bitter-sweet time. I hardly know them, and yet seeing their emotions tell me again just how wonderful our school and staff are. Our youngest daughter Rachel and her father enjoyed Hosier at the Heritage Live concerts, and Hosier was kind enough to postpone the sound rehearsal on the Sunday morning until after Sunday service. We also enjoyed the family-friendly Flackstock charity concert, and the whole crowd got to sing some assembly bangers with Jason Manford. You may not be aware that St Mark's has to pay for various licences for our hymns and music and our streaming, and I'm very grateful to Carol Harris, who began properly reporting our songs, hymns and weekly music to Christian Copyright Licensing International. During July, Paul was also able to lend a hand and do some PA advice to Holy Trinity Theal. In this month, I baptised Oscar Avery Thorpe, and it was a delight to marry Tori Benyon and Thomas Russell. The groom being Scottish and in the whisky business meant that tartan, kilts and hip flasks were all in abundance. In August, I appreciated the relative quiet of the summer, and I was able to help out and take a service at St Mary Bucklebury's 8 o'clock Book of Common Prayer. In this month, I also baptised Louis Furs and interred the ashes of Mavis Austin, who is now with her husband John in St Mark's Churchyard. September saw Torquil do his usual heroic pedal for the annual Ride and Stride event, raising funds for St Mark's and for Berkshire Historic Churches Trust. Your parochial church council, PCC, met for a prayer, discussion and ideas sharing morning. Ideas were plentiful. Some have been implemented, with more awaiting the right people with time to make them happen. If you would like to offer time to do just one thing, let me know and I can discuss the ideas with you. In this month, I also baptised Arda Fishburn, another grandchild for Dudley. The harvest display in October was so wonderful and included tractors of so many kinds. St Mark's were treated to the school choir and the church was packed again for the school harvest service the next morning. We all donated goods to the West Berkshire Food Bank. In this month, being September and 1 year since I was put in, I got through my annual ministerial development review unscathed, but I enjoyed baptising Rufus Rands much more. November. Remembrance Sunday is always a poignant time, giving thanks for lives laid down. It was also heartening to see the increase in numbers attending and finding comfort in our Remembering Our Loved Ones Together service. I'm increasingly aware of the number of folk who are grieving and often consider what more we might do. This was the month that Peter and Ronan began the background work and then were joined by some intense times of work by Paul, Catherine and myself to get the new website up and running. Do have a look. In this month, I married Eliza Watts and Liam Dowker. Eliza is Serena Watts, the estate beekeeper's daughter. December began with a visiting speaker from PACT, Parents and Children Together. Paula Fennick and Paul Myles were responsible for our Christmas tree, decor and lights, which were a particular triumph and delight. I had great fun in the school wrapping den at the Christmas fair, and the school nativity was so joyous. I was incredibly proud and impressed by our school choir, who sang and read at the Dowie Abbey C of E School's carol service. We also hosted Mary Hare School for the Deaf Christmas concert at St Mark's. It was a packed out lessons and carols with our school choir and some of the ladies of Pangbourne Choral Society. It's so special to be able to have it in candlelit. I am so grateful for all the effort and resource that takes. The school carol service was also standing room only. And Paul and I were happy to host the school staff social again, which was a relaxed and fun affair with Prosecco aplenty and quizzes galore. Christmas Eve was a Sunday that year, and the morning was a quiet Book of Common Prayer communion with a huge contrast in the afternoon for the Nativitingle, which was a full and fun service with 100 Christingles kindly supplied by Liz Worth at the store and tea rooms. In this month, I also took the funerals of Eileen Willans and Hugh Simpson, as well as Anne Cripps, who, with her sister Jean, had been part of Englefield all of their lives. January 2024. We heard from Christian Solidarity Worldwide speaker about the persecution of Christians around the world. I attended a 2-day advanced Spacemakers training and have risen to the dizzy heights of being a Spacemakers affiliate. In February, we hosted an evening in the village hall, where our own Aldo spoke brilliantly to approximately 30 people and answered questions about science and the Christian faith in a talk called "Has Science Disproved God?" The answer, by the way, was no. On Ash Wednesday, I led an informal communion in the Englefield chapel for 12 of us. It was a great joy to see Pat Shackelford confirmed by Bishop Tim Wambunya at Holy Trinity Theale, and also this month I baptised Sienna Benyon. March brought our friends Nick and Nicola Gerard for the weekend to give us a well-attended and beautiful flute lecture recital with dance by their daughter Hannah. Nick spoke on the Sunday about open doors. We continue each week to pray for the 50 countries on their watch list. It's where Christians are most persecuted around the world. Mothering Sunday was such a joyous occasion when our wonderful flower ladies provided over 100 posies which were given out, and our church was full of colour, school choir and smiling faces. In contrast, Palm Sunday service was stark as we heard the account in full from Mark's Gospel of how Christ's triumphal entry into Jerusalem became his passion. We then walked down the drive after service for Sunday Club to help plant memorial trees, a white beam for our late Queen and a hornbeam for His Majesty King Charles. On Good Friday, St Mark's was arrayed with visuals, poetry, prayers and music as we spent time together and individually contemplating Christ's death and agony, his great love for us that held him to the cross, and the wiping clean of each of our slates through his sacrificial death. Easter Day was a triumph of trumpet lilies and alleluias as we celebrated Christ's resurrection with shouts and Easter egg hunting. Now, the excitement must have overcome the searchers as the rector found 18 leftover eggs in the churchyard on her Easter Monday stroll. In this month, I also officiated at the funeral and burial of Don Barton here at St Mark's. During April, Englefield Easter Trail was a great success, with 126 taking part during the Easter holidays. It was the brainchild of Liz Worth at the stores, but St Mark's ensured the meaning of Easter was conveyed by our contributions to the hamper and fair trade eggs and Easter booklets for the entrance. Another Liz-inspired event was the Village Hall Bingo Night with fish and chips, and it was most definitely a full house. 70 folk gathered with dabbers in hand as the rector kept the balls and the bingo lingo rolling. Rounded off with a spontaneous sing-along a bingo playlist, a great time was had by all. Watch out for the next event. And so here we are. So far this month, I've had the pleasure of baptising Lucas Prutcher, Arthur Bone and Benjamin Shelton. And next weekend sees the start of wedding season, including Charlie Benyon's. There were 3 weddings, 7 baptisms and 9 funerals or ashes interments in 2023. But in 2024, there are 11 weddings and 9 baptisms planned. So far this year, I have conducted 1 funeral and 1 interment of ashes. So, I very much want to thank our accomplished regular organists, Andrew Bosley, Michael Thomas and Jill Blythman. The clergy who allow for the rector's Sundays off are also very much appreciated by the rector, of course, as well as much enjoyed by everyone here. Very grateful thanks to the Reverend Alan Gates and the Reverend Juliet Straw. I need to thank all of you who give time and support to the ministry of St Mark's in various roles and on the many rotas that keep things functioning so well and looking so good each week. A special thank you in this regard to Safi, who has handed over the main rota after a decade of painstakingly organising it. Thank you to Laura Mead, who has taken this on. We also need to thank all of our PCC members and our standing committee, of whom I must single out our Treasurer Ron and the much more than PCC Secretary Penny Savage. We are very blessed by their dedication and attention to detail, so thank you very much from us all. Finally, most of you will not realise how much our church wardens, Paula and Torquil, put into their roles, but life here would be so very much harder and lonelier without them alongside for the rector. They work together so well and have very complementary areas of focus. I also feel very well cared for and supported on a personal level, so my heartfelt thanks to you both. So, should anyone listening feel you would like to be involved more with the life and mission of St Mark's, do be in touch. Thank you, your Rector, Julia.